Hi everybody, welcome to another Bible study. Today we are talking about 1 Chronicles chapter 25. It is extremely windy here today, and so if you hear wind kind of whipping through the windows in the background, sorry about that. Or if you hear the cries of the rooster blowing in on the wind, that's why. I'll have you know, for those of you who have been here for the rooster saga, I actually do like animals. I have video evidence. The other day I was walking, I found this ram, I shared my sunflower seeds with him. And then I found a camel, and he also wanted some sunflower seeds. So I gave him some, although I don't think he really liked them because they had salt on them. But they had to be better than the dry, nasty sticks that he was eating, so I think he appreciated the variety. Anyway, if you aren't in on the rooster saga, you're thinking this is the strangest Bible study that you've ever seen. Let's actually get into the Bible. 1 Chronicles chapter 25. When did these events happen? By the way, the PDF is free on the website. There's a link down in the description. You can print it off for yourself. When did 1 Chronicles chapter 25 happen? Well, the book of 1 Chronicles was written several hundred years after the reign of David, but it records the events of David's reign from approximately 1055 to 1015 BC. David was the second king of Israel and Judah. Now, these events at the end of 1 Chronicles, the last couple chapters, occurred at the very end of David's life. He's pretty old at this point. This chapter is all about the music at the future temple that was going to be built by David's son Solomon. So our main characters relate to that. First we have David, of course, and then three guys, Asaph, Heman, and Jeduthun. These were the men that were put in charge of organizing the music at the temple. And speaking of that temple, that will place us on our map. The future temple that Solomon was going to build is going to be in Jerusalem, and so that is where our focus is going to be, and it has been for the last couple chapters. The priests, the Levites, and musicians would travel from their cities to Jerusalem to participate in the worship at the temple. Chapter 25, verses 1 through 31 is all about David organizing the temple musicians. David put Asaph, Heman, and Jeduthun in charge of the musical worship at the temple, and then several individuals were assigned to work under them, including Heman's 14 sons and 3 daughters. He's got quite a large family. The men under the leadership of Asaph are listed here. Get ready for me to absolutely slaughter these names. Zachar, Joseph, Nathaniah, and Asherah. 4 people total under Asaph. Under the leadership of Jeduthun, Gedaliah, Zeri, Jeshiah, Shimei, Hashabiah, and Mattathiah. 6 total under Jeduthun. Under the leadership of Heman, Bukiah, Mattaniah, Uzziel, Shebuel, Jeremoth, Hananiah, Hanani, Eliathah, Gedalti, Romam T. Ezer, Joshbekashah, Malothi, Hothir, and Mahazioth. 14 total. When I was in school learning the Bible, they told us, they were like, if you get to one of these passages, just say the names confidently, and no one's going to question you because they don't know how to pronounce them either. I would say that wasn't a confident performance, though. How important are these names? Look, you have to memorize all of these because they're going to come up multiple times in the rest of the Old Testament. You won't understand the rest of the Old Testament unless you memorize these names. So spend some time, no, I'm just kidding. You probably won't read about hardly any of these guys for the rest of the Old Testament. So it's not super important, but I wanted to, this outline is pretty short as it is, so I wanted to list the individuals who were put under the management of our 3 leaders, Asaph, Jeduthun, and Heman. Additionally, 12 men were assigned to each of these 24 men, and we are not going to read their names. That would have brought the number of skilled musicians to 288. The 24 men then cast lots for their assigned duties, and the order of the lots is recorded in verses 9 through 31. So that's really the bulk of the chapter. Now let's finish up with our application. Perhaps you've been to a Christian church and you've noticed that they sing. Well, that's kind of unusual. I mean, we don't sing together in too many other scenarios, environments in our modern culture. But if you walk into just about any Christian service, you're going to hear singing. Singing has been a part of the worship of God for millennia. In the Old Testament, we're still commanded to do it in the New Testament. Christians are supposed to sing together. There's verses like Colossians chapter 3, verse 16, that says this, quote, "Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your heart to God." So if you ever wonder why Christians sing, this is part of the reason. And I think Christians can learn something from this passage. Here we see David setting aside special time and attention to organizing the singing, the music in the temple. Well, modern Christians ought to be doing the same thing. Our singing should be more than just an afterthought. We should be devoting time and attention to the songs that we're singing, the messages that they're sending, the lyrics in those songs, how those songs are sung, how they're incorporated into our worship services. That's worthy of some dedicated time. The alternative to that is allowing the worship of the Lord and what we are teaching in our songs to become kind of stale, worn out, not given any thought. Perhaps we could end up teaching things that are wrong if we're not careful about the lyrics that we're singing. We end up singing the same songs over and over and over again. We're never communicating anything new. We're never communicating or talking about the glories of God with any fresh language to enliven our hearts during our worship services. We're never writing any new songs to praise God in new and in fresh ways, to rejuvenate our worship, or to bring the beautiful sentiments of worship into the modern day, into modern language. So the application today is pretty simple. Dedicate some time to the singing that happens in your churches. Think of ways that you can improve it and make it better. And don't just take the easy route of singing the same old classic songs again and again and again for the next 100 years.